After paying for their food, they walked along the sidewalk, spirits high. With twilight in full swing, Selina had cracked open the cheap novelty chem lights and made her two friends wear them, and brought some more. Riek simply accepted the necklace, but refused to allow more to adorn him. Gerd, however, had joined with Selina wholeheartedly, and the two women were a sight to see as they had made colourful designs, spending far more than they should have on them. It was a decision both would regret far later. Now they had finally made it inside some random nightclub on a main thoroughfare, with loud music that was heavy with bass and strange synthetic tones that harmonised oddly well. They had surrendered their weapons upon entry, and had them stored into an automated lockbox of some kind, having been given an electronic key fob that Riek was holding onto. The variety of species mingling, dancing and otherwise having a grand time of things was still astounding to Selina, even though she had seen such things many times before. Having left Riek and Gerd at a table, she was at the bar trying to order intoxicants for them all from one of the attending mixers. "Hey!" Selina shouted over the noise, catching the attention of a mid-pot Mel. "What do you have for a Terran?" The mixer turned four of his eyes to her, glowing self, and exclaimed, "A Terran? You're far from home. Let me whip you up something. Are grapefruit drinks fine?" "Only if it's strong. Anything under 3.5% ethyl alcohol isn't considered an intoxicant, and can be sold to Terran children." "Fascinating," the mixer replied. "Let's see if I can make you something good. Anything else?" "Yeah," Selina said loudly, over the music. "I need a... what did she say again? A green bone meal for a sprouling, and a tall mug of fermented liver brine for a Dioshine." "Alright, give me a few moments," the mixer said as he got to work. He must have known what she was talking about as he was making the drinks. Within a few minutes, he had placed a tall stein, shaped for a Dioshine's mouth, full of some kind of fizzing liquid that smelled like wet dog, and what looked like an ice cream scoop of grey, transparent gelatin, with green orbs of various sizes in it. Lastly, he placed a large ice mug that held a sour, fruity scent to it. "I took liberties with your drinks, ma'am. It should be to your liking. Strong stuff that can always be considered a minor cleanser. Table number 4, correct?" the mixer said, with his eyes scanning the club for a Dioshine and sprouting duo. "Yes, that's correct. Can you keep a tab open?" "Oh yes, most certainly." Selina would come to regret her tab much later as well. Navigating her way back to the table with the consumables she purchased was a little harder than she had anticipated, as the gelatinous blob kept trying to dislodge itself from its holder. Finally back at her table, she looked at Gerd and said as she handed her friend a spoon, "You're going to bring the next order. I had too much of a hard time trying not to spill that, whatever that is." "Green bone meal," Gerd said, taking small bites from the concoction. "Made from specially prepared bones with some other additives. Good stuff, probably not palatable to Terrans. Not enough glucose or citrus." "And you won't like mine either," Riek said. "This is a more common drink for my people." Getting in on the fun, Selina said as she took a sip, "Mine's probably strong enough to use as a topical disinfectant." They shared a laugh, then she added, "Come on, Riek, I want to dance. Gerd, you're watching our stuff." "That's fine. I want to see who's around first anyways," the green woman called out, as she looked the nightclub over, looking for someone interesting. As Selina dragged Riek onto the dance floor, the song changed cadence with less bass, to higher-pitched tones and peculiar whistling warbles that sharply altered their pitch in a regular pattern. It took a few moments, but the two of them found their rhythm and began to dance with others. After a few minutes of dancing with each other, they had somewhat changed partners without noticing. The press of bodies on the overcrowded dance floor held no other possibility. Catching Riek's eye, Selina continued to dance, evocatively, with the Yondera woman she now found herself with. Gerd watched her friends dance together for a bit, before gazing around the nightclub as she nibbled at her gelatinous intoxicant. The green bone meal was prepared the way she liked, and the green mintox provided a delicate, crunchy contrast to the whole thing. The sensory clusters along her cranial flora let her know what was going on around her in greater detail than just her eyes and ears, and the lack of additional ventilation for sproutings meant she had to keep herself in check for the most part. As she eyed a particularly impressive specimen of a male Nimian, she considered starting a local population boom in the nightclub. Finishing her bone meal, she let out a pouting sigh as she saw the strong Nimian leave, an old, scarred mid-pulse male leaving after him, and 3 giggling women of differing species following with them. Gerd grumbled and bought a second round for herself and Selina, changing up their orders with the installed touchscreen computer at their table. The order arrived while her friends were still dancing, leaving her bored and alone at their table, watching everyone's belongings. She hoped they would get back so she could enjoy herself and not be in extra gear. Riek and Selina finally arrived back to their table, faces flushed with exertion and spirits high from having a great time together. They danced for quite a few songs, and with others on the floor, before they took pity on their friend and let her go have her own fun for a bit. Selina said that she danced with Gert before the night was over to make up for leaving her at the table alone for so long. "I see that Gert got me something while she waited," Selina said to her boyfriend, as he sipped at his own beverage of choice. "How is it?" he asked, as he looked at his drink, then down the rest of it with a bit of a grimace. That got flat and warm. Mind if I get something else?" "It's pretty good. Not as strong as I'd like, but really flavorful without it being too sweet. Sure, go for it." "Gert knows her friends. She really likes you, you know." "She likes everyone." "Not denying that. But it's different with you, like it is with me," he says to Selina, finally making his selection, the cost being added to the growing tab. "She wants to get to know you as a person, not just as a fling." "I did notice that," Selina replied, finishing her drink and navigating the menu with a bit of trouble, her translator having problems with the punny, gimmicky and local names of everything. "But it's not her I'm interested in. Not romantically, at any rate." "Yes, I know. I'm the one who holds that place. And you hold that place for me," Riek said, displaying his species version of a smile. "What I'm trying to get at is that I'd like you to be my girlfriend. Officially, at least. I think that's what you Terrans phrase the term. It's hard to get any data on your people this far out." "No, that's right," Selina said, smiling wildly, finally making her selection with added notes. "I'm not looking for a permanent life mate, not yet at least. And like most Terrans, I am open to new things." "Oh? That's interesting. I thought Terrans were monogamous." "For the majority of modern history, Terrans were, but that's changed over the last 100 years or so," she said as their orders arrived. "Thanks, but Terran couples do whatever they're comfortable with. Marriage is still a big deal, but that's no longer defined as a union between two people. At least on Terra, polyamorous couples can marry. But I'm not sure about the monarchy, however." "I thought you were unified." "As a people we are, but we're still fractured as a culture. As long as certain rights aren't invalidated, we leave others of our kind alone. You do you kind of philosophy." "That shouldn't even work," Dionysus exclaimed, trying to wrap his mind around it all. "No, it shouldn't," Selina agreed with a laugh as she sipped her drink. "This is much better anyways. We make it work. About the only thing the Republic demands, besides certain treatment of citizens, is military support against non-human threats." "So, Nantrix 4 was a show of strength?" "Oh no, not at all," Selina said. "That was hardly anything. That was just a voluntary aid package. The equivalent of a ride to and from town, or to help move something heavy." "That's a lot to take in." The night progressed with much more dancing. Sometime during the festivities, Gert had disappeared for a little while, and when she came back, her body glitter had been smeared, giving away in no uncertain terms what she had been up to during her brief absence. Selina and Gert had their time on the dance floor, drawing many eyes to their rather provocative, swaying movements. As with all good things, their stint at the club inevitably came to an end, and the three of them ordered drinks once more at last call. Leaving the club after getting their weapons from lockup, they stumbled around a bit, thoroughly drunk, or equivalent, and in great spirits. While the sky was still quite dark, only the brightest stars shone over the light pollution of the city and the bright lights of the orbital ring, though the ring was absolutely beautiful against the black of the sky. A bright flash was seen as a firework exploded in the air some distance away, and then the sound was heard a moment later. "That one was pretty," Selina said as she looked skyward. "They're illegal here this close to the city," Riek said. "That one was expensive." "Sure looked like it," Gert agreed, looking up into the sky to try to see any more, however unlikely. There were very few beings on the road this late in the early morning, as they made their way back to the parking garage, talking about nothing of importance as they did so, laughing at bad jokes and even worse innuendos, and just being friends. Distracted and drunk, the three of them did not notice that they had been discreetly followed. They did not notice the quiet, charging whine of a Gauss weapon powering up. They also did not notice the thwomp of a specially designed, supposedly non-lethal anti-personnel round flying at high velocity. Riek and Gert did notice Selina lurch forward from the impact of a semi-guided, large cylindrical round hitting her in the back, curved tail fins jutting out from the back of the slug, sticking into her body. They did notice the Terran's seizure as she fell from the force of the impact. They did notice the far too loud electric whine as a military-grade neural scrambler dumped its payload into the small woman. Gert's view shifted hard, faster than she knew what was happening, as Riek pushed her to the side, behind a parked vehicle. the impact knocking the breath from her lungs, causing her to curl up, clutching her chest as she gasped for air. Still reeling, she heard rapid pulse fire and then a thud next to her, as Selena was crudely tossed into her vicinity. "Get that thing off her!" Rutek shouted. Adrenaline equivalent bringing him to alertness, rapid pulse fire illuminating the area in quick, alternating bursts. "Come here and fight me!" she heard Rutek shout again. Gerd surged into action at being told what to do, her intoxication greatly numbing her to the ache in her chest. The object was not hard to find. It was a large cylindrical round, perhaps a few inches long and half of that wide. Guiding wings splayed open, and smoke coming from the overworked electrical system inside. Without hesitation, she pulled at it hard, tearing bits of flesh out from the many small barbs keeping it in place. "Shit, I'm sorry," Gerd said without thinking. "It's out," she shouted back to Rutek. "Get Selena's pistol. I need help. He's got..." Gerd heard a hard, meaty thunk and heard the air rush out of Rutek's lungs, then heard him hit a vehicle, the impact of it rocking it on its power-saving landing struts. Grabbing the heavy weapon and powering it up, she held it with two shaking hands, hearing heavy footsteps walk over to her. She saw the same burly Nimian that she had at the hospital back in the nightclub just a few hours ago. Where was the other? "I'm not trying to make a bigger scene here, girl," the Nimian drawled out. "Hand over the Terran, and we can all go our separate ways." "No, stay back, or..." "Oh, you're what?" the man asked, menace clear in his voice, taking a step towards her. Stealing her nerves, Gerd pulled the trigger to Selena's fully charged gauze pistol. The weapon was far too powerful for Gerd to handle, and the recoil was brutal. The shot, ill-aimed, still found a mark on the Nimian's bulky frame, only for a golden barrier over his upper left forearm to shatter, the flesh of his skin burning in neat straight lines. Gerd, unable to maintain her grip on the weapon, had to fly backwards and hit her chest again, causing her to gasp for breath and spasm on the floor in absolute agony. "That hurt, you fucking weed," the Nimian said, holding his burning arm to his chest as he quickly went to Gerd as she lay in pain. Grabbing her by her sensitive cranial flora, he easily lifted her life form into the air with one hand. "I'm going to enjoy watching you burn, plant," he said again with gritted teeth. With a howl, he dropped the green woman out of reflex as he pulled out a bright, shiny and sharp dagger from his forearm. Growling, he threw with expert aim at Gerd as she crawled backwards away, crying out in more pain as she lay on the floor, bleeding from the knife wound in her abdomen. As the brute went to finish off the sprawling, his back was lit up with yellow pulses as the energy shield protected him from rapid pulse fire. Rutek had pulled himself from where he lay and was firing at the hulk of a Nimian with his rapid pulse pistol, breathing hard and holding his side with his free arm. Ignoring the pathetic pulse fire, the man simply stated, "I'm surprised you're not dead." "Yeah, well, I'm only mostly dead," Rutek said. "I bet that shield of yours can't take much more." "It can take more than what that kid's toy has left," the Nimian said, as he began to run towards Rutek. Still firing on the crazed lunatic of a beast, Rutek took his chance and swung the last moment with his other arm, ignoring the shifting of his cracked ribs. His blow connected, and the two knuckle dusters he had slipped onto his hand released their stored energy all at once. The sheer force of the impact sent them flying in different ways, and he knew the bones in his left hand were broken for the recoil. Selena heard flashes of light as she tried to move. White noise polluted her everything, and she could hear nausea, taste sound, feel purple, and many other synthetical errors. As she pulled her wits about her, and her connections re-established themselves, the anti-neural scrambling defenses she had added into her prosthetics proved to be the best decision she had made. Getting to her feet and fighting off a wave of vertigo, she saw Gerd with her own dagger sticking out of her belly, and saw Rutek shooting at a Nimian even bigger than Grindel, a golden personal energy shield of some kind, preventing the pulse fire from doing any harm. She saw the telltale burst of an overcharged knuckle duster going off, and both of them paying the price, only for the Nimian to get back up. "That was dirty. Been a while since I've had a good fight," the Nimian said, only to be put on the defensive from a hail of blows from Selena. "Rutek!" Selena shouted. "Help Gerd!" She did not turn to see if her friend got up, her attention fully focused on the monster in front of her. Each of her blows hammered down hard, the prosthetics she wore were optimized fully and structurally enhanced for true hand-to-hand combat. With her heart thundering in her chest, she blocked, parried and weaved around faster than any human ought to be able to. "Tricky little thing," the brute said, more to himself than his foe, as he tried to pummel the small Terran before him with expertly timed punches, kicks, and all manner of other hammering blows. Each time their enhanced limbs connected, it was as though he was hitting a steel wall. Each of her strikes caused his personal shield to flare, robbing them of any true damage. His energy shield could not handle much more. Selena quickly looked around for anything that could help her end the fight or subdue her opponent. Her prosthetic eye running through all manner of spectra, trying to determine how his energy shield kept his power, and could not find the power source on his person. Grabbing a road sign, she wrenched it from the ground, adjusting it in her hands so as to have an improvised staff rather than a sword. "I'm done playing. I'm going to rip you apart," the Nemean said. 4 metal tubes unfolded from his back, tearing his shirt in the process, as an electrical whine grew louder and louder. With his shirt torn up, it was revealed that he was as heavily modified as Selina was. His body had been changed to accommodate some kind of internal reactor, and the 4 tubes were a potent cooling mechanism, as powerful fans could be heard from them. "What did you do to yourself?" Selina asked, looking at him. The work done to him was not simply replacement for damage, but intentional. Was there even a Nemean left under all that? Faster than Selina thought was possible, the bruiser of a cyborg was upon her, each blow far stronger than before, forcing her onto the defensive immediately. "Subdermal energy shielding," the Nemean said, wrenching her improvised weapon from her and throwing it far, to the other side of the street where it landed with a horrendous crash. "Synthetic musculature overlay, enhanced skeletal structure, biomatrix control suite, internal reactor." As he said each point, he dealt a telling blow onto the Terran before him. "You've given up more than you'll ever know," she said, as she got up from the ground, already coming up with a plan to disable this terrible thing in front of her. "I know exactly what I've done." The cyborg Nemean rushed up at her, the distance closing rapidly, synthetic muscles rippling as extra power was dumped into them. Selina was ready, having no more qualms on fighting dirty, something she should have realized far sooner. Using her smaller stature to her advantage, and using the inherent weakness of energy shielding, she grabbed onto the Nemean's large wrist and spun herself around onto his back. "I want you all to just leave me alone," Selina shouted, as she positioned herself diagonally between 2 calling rods and pushed, her prosthetics groaning as she demanded more from them than their safe operational limits allowed. The Nemean groaned in pain as his upper arm shifted around to face her in an unnatural way, owing such a thing to his augments. Pushing past the simulated responses her protesting prosthetics were giving her with a roar of rage, Selina wrenched off the calling rod, blue coolant spraying everywhere as critical function alarms blared from the apparatus. Adjusting her hold on the back of the screaming Nemean, leaking rod still in her hand, she began to bash the cyborg's head with it as she clung on, her limbs denting the other calling rods as the creature under her thrashed in an effort to dislodge her. 3 heavy pulse impacts expertly hit Selina in the head, side and leg, causing her to lose her grip and get bashed to the side, where she landed in a roll, absorbing the impact then springing back up to a fighting stance, the crumpled and dented calling rod still in her hand. As she looked at the sparking and leaking Nemean, she saw that an old and scarred Mipops had pulled up to the brute in a hoverbike, holding a heavy pulse rifle and saying something. The Nemean gave her a look, then got onto the hoverbike, the 2 speeding away. She watched them leave, her prosthetic eye giving her a far greater view of detail than humanly possible, then quickly limped back to where she left Gert. The fight had been more damaging than she had expected, and everything would need to be repaired. As she neared Gert, she smelled a strong scent of pine and heard Rutak's laboured breathing as sirens were in the background. "I can't stop the bleeding," he wheezed out, blood and mucus freely flowing from his nostrils, his eyes bloodshot and oozing liquid of some kind. As Selina looked him over, she saw a medical applicator and many spent cartridges around him. "Let me take over," Selina said, ripping apart her torn dress and putting proper pressure on the wound, the weapon still in her friend. "What are those, Rutak?" she asked her friend, then looked at Gerd, her prosthetic eye scanning the woman bleeding out. "Antitoxin," he wheezed out again. "I'm just gonna be over there." He walked some 10 feet away, sat down, and leaned against the wall of a building, falling silent. "Stay with me, Gerd," Selina said. The tears welling up in her eyes were not from pain. The sirens were getting louder.